I'm going to do a deeper intro with each three of these folks as we get into this. And also, we've got an announcement here at the end of this this evening about when we're going to be doing our very first actual live virtual screening of The Wild coming up here very, very quickly. As you all know, we're kind of pivoting here quickly in real time as we're dealing with this whole COVID-19 crisis. And we've definitely had to juggle a bit in terms of the road tour that we wanted to do in connection together, but we're doing it, and we've got incredible partners. And as Amy Gulick is so fond of saying, and I am too, salmon bring awesome people together, and as you can see right here. So without further ado, I would like to introduce my good friend Melanie Brown, who is Melanie is an organizer for wild salmon and for Bristol Bay in particular. She's been fishing for 5 generations. Her family's been fishing in the bay, and she works with and for Salmon State right now, working to save Bristol Bay with everything she's got. And she's also an amazing musician. And I don't know if you guys saw the post that we did from Fisher Poets, but hopefully Melanie's gonna be able to play that song here for us tonight. But she's got a few songs for us. And without further ado, Melanie, take it away.
Thank you, Mark. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in tonight. And yeah, it's awesome seeing faces I know in the meeting. Yeah, I started fishing Bristol Bay in 1979. I was really lucky because we were on an upturn. And so I got kind of spoiled in the beginning, but I managed to weather some lean years too. But yeah, I haven't missed many years in the over 40 years that I've been fishing. They were summertime babies, so it made it kind of hard to fish. But Bristol Bay is a place I love to return to. I set net on at the mouth of the Naknek River on the site that my great-grandfather Paul Chacon staked out when he was transitioning from being a sailboat fisherman to being a set netter. And I was lucky enough to know my great-grandpa into my mid-20s, and Howard's in the room. I remember telling Howard that I think my great-grandpa was probably one of the strongest men I knew, even though he was only 5 feet tall. He was just lean and mean, like Howard. But I'm going to open with a song that I think is fitting for the COVID crisis. I'm going to take my headphones off and just check in between songs. None of the songs that I'm playing tonight are songs that I've written, but I feel like they're really relevant to what we love, what we're working to protect. And they tie to Bristol Bay in one way or another. The first song that I'm going to play, it's a song by Hank Williams. And Hank Williams always makes me think of KDLG because I'm pretty sure that's the first place I ever heard any Hank Williams music. And this song, it reminds me too of being in my great-grandparents' warm, safe, comfortable home. And winding up the Victrola so that I could play some old wax discs on it. And yeah, so this song is called I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry. Excuse me. Here, that lone somewhere Pepperville, he sounds too blue to fly. where time goes crawling by. The moon just went behind a cloud to hide its face and cry. Did you ever see a robin weep when leaves begin to fly? That means he's lost the will to live. I'm so lonesome I could cry. The silence of a falling star lights up a purple sky. And as I wonder where you are, I'm so lonesome I could cry. Is the sound okay? It is? Okay. I'm gonna do a song now. It's called Holy River, and it's by a duo. They call themselves Holy River now. They used to be called Lobo Marino. And the first time I ever heard this song was in a film about the Chewitna River and the threat of the Chewitna coal mine that would have torn up 12 miles of the Chewitna River. The people who were fighting that project, they prevailed. But this song makes me think of my friend Sam, who played a big part in keeping that project from moving forward. He wore down the people who were invested in making that project happen, and along with other people. But this song is for Sam. Take me back in time, before the mud it piled up. Find my body, tie it up in silk among the ash and sandalwood. What I do, you do nothing but prepare the way. My soul is just a paste you place upon your head. Breathe deeply now, 1,000 times. The sun will rise before you die, but you already know that you are there. Holy river, lap against the stone. It's painted crimson, sun painted gold. Lay the wood to dry upon the rock. The fire burns, it never stops. Ha 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 ha. misty mountains for no day. Men on boats, they travel back and forth, and with their calloused hands they pray and pray. Ha 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 Holy river, take me back in time, before the fire became the light. Wrap me in you are one breath, and so am I. Thanks. That song, it's super intense to play because it to me, it's like the death of one of the rivers in Bristol Bay by tailings impoundment breach, in case you didn't catch that. But I don't know, I just feel like it really brings into keen focus our love of our rivers in Bristol Bay. I'm gonna do one more before I pass it off to Maggie. This song, it's called My Baby Drinks Water, and it was written by a woman named Ruth Unger. She sings in a band called The Mammals, and she was inspired to write this song by the water protectors at Standing Rock. And it's one bright ray that has shone in the midst of the COVID crisis. The people at Standing Rock had a victory, so it's nice to hear good news like that. Yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to sing this song, My Baby Drinks Water. My baby drinks water, my baby drinks tea, my baby eats salmon from the Bristol Bay streams, my baby drinks milk Mother Nature gave me. So please spare the water for my little ones and me. Now money buys houses and clothing and more, and money buys food at the big grocery store, and money buys trinkets and money buys toys, but it won't buy the earth back for our little girls and boys. Do you measure your wealth by the size of your purse? What size is your coffin? What size is your hearse? What size is your heart if you put money first? High over the children and their hunger and thirst. My baby drinks water, my baby drinks tea. My baby eats salmon from the Bristol Bay streams. My baby drinks milk Mother Nature gave me. So please spare the water for my little ones and me.
Yeah. Mel. My God. Wow.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Man, oh man, if you can't tell already, salmon evoke something in the heart, and I think that's what's bringing us all together here. And thank you so much. The first time you played that at Fisher Poets, I just, wow, it just completely tore me apart. So thank you for giving that to us tonight. We're going to come back, and you're going to be able to ask questions of Melanie and everybody, of me, and of what's going on with the wild and all the stuff here at the end. But we've got two more amazing humans coming up. I met Maggie Bursch in person a while back. And most recently, like a year ago, we did a little event in Bellingham. We showed an early trailer of the wild, and somehow, despite massive technical difficulties, Maggie got the thing going as a gift on the way out the door, and she wrote, you wrote, Maggie, something in it that I'll never forget, and you just said thank you for giving people your love of salmon, and I keep that by my desk all the time, and I've read all the poems in it, and so grateful that you're here tonight to share some of your poetry. So with that, Maggie, why don't you do a little intro of what you're up to, and take it away. And thanks again, Mel.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I just feel really honored to be included in this, and to follow Melanie, and I'm still kind of feeling a lot of things from that, and it's just great to see everyone here, Francis and Howard and Elma and Morgan and so many other people, just to feel close to you in this time. And I just, the scene, I had some things picked out to read. Oh, I'm going to give bio of myself. I grew up in Homer, Alaska, and my parents were set netters on the Ugashik River in Pilot Point. So I spent my childhoods there in the summer, and then in Homer in the winter, and I started set netting. I ended up injuring my back when I was 18, and so I bought a drift boat and ran my drift boat for 5 years, and then last summer was my first summer not fishing since I was 8 years old. I'm pursuing a career in occupational therapy, which I'm hopefully going to be able to do in tandem, but right now I'm not fishing because I'm in school. And that's a little bit about me, and I'm just really happy to be here. Two of the poems tonight are from this, which is my journal, so pretty unedited, but seeing the audience here tonight, I just felt like I could be vulnerable with you guys and make a couple mistakes. This one I was inspired to read because of Melanie's last song. And it's called, I Want to Raise My Babies on Salmon. I want to raise my babies on salmon so they always know where home is. I want to raise my babies on a boat so they are not surprised when life is unsteady. I want to raise them knowing that 5/8 and 15 millimeter are the same thing, so that they know how to speak more than one language. No two names can mean the same thing. I want them to watch the king salmon die, pooled in his own blood, so that they know what we do is not right, but it is normalized. Wealth and privilege are built on the shiver of unfairness. I want to raise my babies bored and looking over water, so they know that seals do it too. 3 bites and bloody whiskers, bored and cutting open fish bellies, finding krill and wondering what krill eat, what krill blood looks like, whether krill feel pain, whether krill have fish kings or democracies. I want to raise my babies on fish so they know we need GPSs to figure out salmon in their otolith, swimming steadily to their grandmother's streams. So they know superiority is written in the Bible, but it is not something written on this land. It is not held by this river. I want my babies to wade into water so they understand we are dependent on diesel and thermal layers for survival. We have no blubber. Our eyes grow cloudy in the mud. Thank you. You guys can hear me okay? Seems like it. My next poem I'm gonna read tonight is inspired by all the women who work hard and fish in this industry, and I'm gonna dedicate this to Melanie and the years that she's put into this industry. It was really inspiring to follow her. It's called From Water. We differ, my friend and I, in what we look for in a boat. He wants performance and I want for the nanny. He wants jets and step and I want refrigerated seawater. We do not differ in what we fear because we both fear failing. He does not tell me this, but I see it in hers. Along with failure, I fear compromise. Is that what it means to be a woman? Compromise? Even a woman with her own boat, a woman tougher than the sea who wears men's clothes because of big shoulders. My mother is a woman like that, and I had a nanny. I don't believe that meant she was failing, but as a child, I had a fantasy that my mother was water, that I was born from water, that I was raised on pirate ships and made no compromise. I'd pretend I sailed these ships in the storm so big the masts were failing, perched on a wooden old boat, and then I would call out, perched on a wooden old boat, and then I would hear the call of my nanny and jump into the grass, my jacket slung over my shoulders. Now some days I feel the weight of a gender on my shoulders when I am one of the only women on the water, and because in the winter I put away my boat to work as a nanny. My pride is tied up in the hall without a lot of room for compromise. My pride is tangled into every line on that boat, and I lie in bed at night thinking of what hydraulic hoses are closest to failing. I look to the women before me who faced the fear of failing. And if I know anything, it is because I stand on their shoulders. I have listened to their legends or secrets, worked on her boat, women who are mothers and have broken the water, who carry anchors and car seats, sharp knives and compromise. Do you give up the helm, bring the baby along, get a nanny? So there I am looking for a boat with a bunk for the nanny, banking on a few more years without my birth control failing, bracing for a day I'll face compromise like a wet wind. The day I'll carry someone else on my shoulder as we head to the water or the boat. My friend crawls into the forecastle and I tell him that bunk is too small for his shoulders. He says it's got a good engine and it's worth the compromise. And I think of his mother, who gave up the sea to create him, to raise him from water.
Wow.
Thank you. So this last poem I'm going to share tonight is something that I wrote just in the last 2 days. I was kind of following some of the most recent banter on Bristol Bay and coronavirus, and I was just feeling a lot of feelings, and I think we're all feeling uncertain right now for many reasons. But this poem, yeah, I just wrote in the past couple days, and I'm gonna share it now. And it doesn't really have a name, but we'll say like on coronavirus in Bristol Bay. And I just, I'm really glad to share it with all of you now. I have felt doors slammed so hard books fell off the shelves at the Setnet cabin. I've seen wrenches fly. I've heard deckhands chewed out from a quarter mile away. I've stomped and kicked until my feet are sore. My own engine holds dents from my own lack of emotional control. We are not taught as young deckhands to take deep breaths or talk things out. We learn to puff our chests. We learn to hold our ground, chin up even when your head's down. As a people, we are proud. In a world of limited entry permits and limited resources, it's no wonder we learn to cork or be corked, to fight even when there is no one to fight with, to take sides, dig our heels in, feel angry. But now is not a time for that. The flesh, fragile as the salmon. We do not come with air filters that can be replaced. Chin up even when your head's down. As a people, we are proud. I have seen a whole boatyard put their heads together to lift an engine into a hole. I've seen a beach of set netters pull a cabin all the way across the tundra, witnessed unbound patience in the engine room, watched a fisherman drive away from a huge set to help a stranger with a deckhand in the water. We are so much more than dented engines. We are so much more than flying spit. Thank you.
Maggie, amazing.
Funny to read, but everyone for listening.
Wow.
And I'm honored and excited to pass it on to Elma.
Thank you, Maggie, so much. Yes. Look, when I was 18 and went to Bristol Bay for the first time, the first thing that struck me like something over the head was the vastness of it, the thing that's so much bigger than me. I think if you do this kind of work, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman or black or white or red or gay or straight or whatever. If you are called by this song, it gets inside of you and it doesn't go away. And that's what we're hearing here tonight. And I am so freaking grateful and humbled by you incredible women. Thank you. And speaking of, my dear friend Elma, who basically, Elma gets shit done, is a multi-talented human being. And on the straight bio side of things, she's been set netting in Bristol Bay since 2010 and is the founder of Strength of the Tides. I'm going to let Elma tell you more about that. And she's also the program manager of Bellingham Sea Feast, which is killer and is in September. And hopefully we'll come off without a hitch again this year. She also works with our friend Steve Curian's family's Wild for Salmon. Steve fishes the Ava Jane out of Naknek, and she helps tell the story of their boat to plate business. She only really writes poetry once a year for Fisher Poets. If you haven't been, you must go next year. It's incredible. And you can find her on Instagram at ECC Burnham and learn more about Strength of the Tides and their work supporting women who work on the water at strengthofthetides.org. And with that, Elma, I will let you take it away.
Sure. Can everyone, is this good? Awesome. Yeah, it's really nice to be here. I've been in this space that you're seeing, which is my bedroom, kitchen, living room, office, alone for the past few weeks. So it's really nice to be here with all of you. Mark, I'm going to talk a little bit about Strength of the Tides and then do my reading. Yeah. Okay. There's so many familiar faces in here. It's really nice, but I prepared a little bit for folks who might not know, which my reading is also for some folks who maybe are just getting to know Bristol Bay through the wild. We're so glad to have you as part of our community. And I'll explain a little bit about what we're up to. Strength of the Tides is a community organization that works to support, celebrate, and empower women who work on the water. As Mark said in the trailer, everything is connected by water, and we all know that, but sometimes it feels like water is not quite enough, that there's room for more connection, and I especially feel that way for women in this industry that's still very male dominated and that really isolates people from each other during this season. So that's some of the impetus behind Strength of the Tides, is just building this community of people that have found a home on the water, whether that be Bristol Bay or South Florida, or we've, chatted with women in the Australian waters, in the UK. And I think it's just important that we recognize how many women are part of this. So one of the ways we fulfill our mission is through representation. every week on Instagram at Strength of the Tides. We tell the story of a woman who works on the water. And we all know now with social media, it's such a powerful tool, and representation really matters. So every Wednesday is just a little reminder that there are strong, powerful, smart women doing this work on the water, from whether that be set netting in Bristol Bay like Melanie and I, or drifting like Maggie, or fixing engines on huge boats, or on the conservation side. So just yesterday we featured our 113th woman on Instagram. I counted. That's pretty cool. Another way we fulfill our mission is through solidarity and accountability. So the teeth, and really one of the first things that Strength of the Tides did was put out this pledge that is essentially just moving the bar up a little bit. And after hearing Maggie's poem, we know that some of these fisheries can be a little rough and tumble despite being such a strong community. And the pledge is basically a statement of respect and anti-harassment policy for women who work on the water. Unfortunately, not everyone's experience is as kindred and beautiful as we've seen in these trailers and representation of Bristol Bay. And that's not, that's a global issue. It doesn't always happen on the water, but the water is a different space when you're isolated and way out there. So this pledge that you can sign on to on our website is basically asking folks there's no HR policy or HR department, in the industry. So it's just asking folks to hold each other accountable and create safe spaces for women on the water. Community, just like Mark is saying with the breach and then now the wilds, that's really where, for me and for people like these folks in the room, that's what it's about, right? Is sharing space and building community. So Strength of the Tides has also been a gathering tool for women who share this sort of unique workspace that's often solo, still male dominated, and our community pieces is just getting women together, sharing advice, experiences, really just like hanging out, which it sounds special now because we've all been in our isolated COVID-19 setups, but for women that fish, sometimes they're the only ones on the boat and they don't see another woman for however long. And so it's just really special when you're able to bring together a group of folks that have shared an experience like that. And then the last thing is education. So there's always room to get more women involved. And we've found that they're really hungry for advice, information. So some of the events we've done is like, just recently we did one called My First Job, about a panel of 4 women with like very diverse experiences and careers on the water, and just talking about how they do that. Do you just respond to a Craigslist ad and then buy a $1,500 ticket to Bristol Bay where your cell phone's not going to work and get on a boat with somebody you've never met? And what does that feel like for an 18-year-old woman who, might not have had an experience like that before? So anyway, another one we did, an educational event, was just talking about gear. And as a set netter, I wear waders all summer long, but they make men's waders in 3-ply, 4-ply material. They don't make women's waders in those things. Just building a community around this. Anyway, that's a little bit about what Strength of the Tides is about, and I just want to thank Mark and everyone, so many of these familiar faces in the room that have been a part of it for the past 3 years. It's been a huge part of my life, but I'm just so grateful for the other people that it's brought to my life. So anyway, I do write for Fisher Poets about once a year. But I'm going to read an old one, and it's actually just some prose, which the founders of Fisher Poets let you sneak it in there if you mix it up a little. So I'm going to do some prose, and then I have another one. And I'm reading this old one because I wasn't sure if there were going to be folks unfamiliar. And I think I wrote this for some East Coast. I'm originally from southeastern Connecticut. I wrote this for some East Coast readers trying to really explain what Bristol Bay is. And I'm so glad there's filmmakers like Mark who are able to show it, because it's really hard to describe without that. So anyway, here I go. It's early June, about 10 p.m. in Alaska. The sun begins its slow set. We had sunshine all day for once, and I'm still warm. Realizing my chance to feel clean after opening fish camp, I notice the boys are doing their own thing, so I jump on the little red four-wheeler. Today we cracked open doors. One shows precarious signs of a curious bear that haven't been opened since we packed up camp the previous August. On the back of the Honda Rancher, I pile on a bar soap, a towel, a too big, clean cotton sweatshirt, and even a razor I stole from the cabin. I could walk the gravel to the river, which has shrunk in size with the ebb tide and now rips through only the deepest part of the channel, but it feels endlessly far after day one at camp. I kill the engine at the tide line, peel off all of my underwear, and wade into the river. I dunk quickly, knowing the heat I stored up throughout the day won't last long in the 50-degree bay water. I soap up and dunk again, spending a moment up to my shoulders. In this pause, the surrounding wildness is too obvious to ignore. In another week, I won't be able to squat like this without the company of the salmon. In another week, if Mother Nature or the Yupik ancestors or biology itself allow, the river will pulse with thousands of fish. Fish with beautiful blue and green backs, scintillating silver scales, pure muscle. Strong, fast, and on a mission to procreate before their lives end upriver. They would be my company in this moment, bumping into me and causing movement in the water, which this early in the season stands palpably empty. They will be the reason why I sleep when the sun is high in the sky, and I'll think of them first thing when I fumble to turn off my alarm with my swollen fingers, pins and needles after the first days of picking fish. After all, that's why I'm here on the back of the After all, that's why I'm here on the bank of the Igushik River in Bristol Bay, attempting to get clean on a mud flat, without a cell phone or internet access, with only one clear goal: kill a lot of salmon. It sounds violent, and I grapple with that truth in my brief river moment. I think of the young seiner in Rachel Carson's Under the Sea Wind, who looks into the eye of his catch and ruminates on the very question of death by his hands. I think often of the lives lost on our deck, yet I too am a fisherman and seldom have time to think such thoughts. Turning around, I jump up, skip out of the water, and try to avoid squishing my cleanish toes into the patches of anaerobic, thick as wet cement mud. I don't have time for such thoughts now either. The tide changed during my short bath, and stealthily, quietly, the river has started to stalk my ride home, like a big cat does between savanna grasses. I welcome the practice of considering the life of that which we eat, but the brackish water is about to send my camp shoes upriver and swallow the four-wheeler, causing it to rust sooner than is already inevitable. I towel off and throw my big sweatshirt on, sighing away my sore shoulders and the weight that comes with simply standing at the edge of one of the world's wildest, fullest food sources. Thank you. I'm gonna do one more, and I'm taking a risk, but it's fun to do that in this room with you all, this virtual room. But there's a tradition in a lot of setnet camps to have music night or poetry night. And I'm not a singer, but you might have seen Ole Olsen in that movie, who said, he's the one talking about if you want to see magic, come to Bristol Bay, Alaska. And when that guy tells you something, you do it. So I participated in music night at New Shagak Point, and I wrote this song with my friend Matt, who is from the infamous Anchorage band Hot and Awkward, if anyone's familiar with them, from a couple years ago. And it's actually a John Prine song, and I thought that after this week I had to just buckle up and do it a cappella without Matt in this chat week to honor John Prine. And you might guess which one it is. It's called Paradise. But at music nights in Bristol Bay, there's a lot of manipulating of lyrics to make it work for our community. So I did that with my friend Matt, and I'm gonna just go for it and sing it for you guys. And I'll explain that for anyone who's not familiar, which after seeing the wild, certainly the mining companies that is most invested in the Pebble project. So that's important to know. And if you want to, you can join me in the chorus. You'll learn it pretty quick here. When I was a child, my family would travel out to Bristol Bay where the salmon are born. And there's a backwards old bay that's often remembered so many times that my memories are worn. And Daddy, won't you take me to the New Shagak River where the salmon come home and the fishermen lay? Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but you're too late in asking. Northern Dynasty's mining done wiped it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down to the harbor, to the cold lone container where we welded away. Where the mud showed at low tide and our nets were all mended just in time for the season.
A little bit, but okay.
And Daddy, won't you take me to the New Shagak River where the salmon come home and the fishermen lay? Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but you're too late in asking. Northern Dynasty's mining has wiped it away. Then the mining men came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the tundra, and they stripped all the land. And they dug for the copper till the bay was forsaken, and they wrote it all down as the progress of man. Daddy, won't you take me to the New Shagak River where the salmon come home and the fishermen lay? Well, I'm sorry, my dear, but you're too late in asking. Northern Dynasty's mining done wiped it away. When I die, let my ashes float down the Noosh River. Let my soul roll up on that big ugly dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting just 5 miles away from wherever I am. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting just 5 miles away from wherever I am.
Woo!
Thank you, John Prine.
Woo!
Happy.
Elma,
Thank you.
Wow.
thank you for taking the risk.
And then there's that. Yeah, you know, what a gift, all three of you, for being so vulnerable and giving us these gifts that you've created. I, for one, have just been transported to the Bay. I was seeing the sights, smelling the smells. It's just an incredible gift. Thank you so much. So we're going to open this up right now, guys, to questions you might have of any of the amazing three women that have just performed here for us right now. Also, without further ado, wanted to make an announcement to you about what we've got going here with the Wild. And we've decided, given the mercurial nature and the ever-changing tides here of COVID-19, that we are going to start getting out into the world, and figured that the absolute best and most appropriate place to do that is by starting with a limited release to all of Bristol Bay's fishing fleet. So we are going to be releasing the film on May 2nd for a very special event on that will open the film up. It will celebrate with Bristol Bay sockeye salmon, and we'll have hopefully a really large gathering just like this in real time, virtually after the event. And that'll be, if you're connected at all with the BBRCA, or any other friends or fishermen or direct to market fishermen, you'll be getting news about that pretty quick here early next week. Also, if you're not already and you want to receive updates from our newsletter, it's up in the chat bar up there. You can just copy paste that in a browser and just sign up for our newsletter. We'll be posting about these things every single week from this point on. This will be the first of our special virtual events, and then we will be announcing more as the weeks continue. The goal here is to dovetail into live events in the middle of the summer, and hopefully all come out together and really raise the roof, because we need to for Bristol Bay right now. So without further ado, I'd like to open it up. Tyler is going to be taking care of queuing folks up. If you got a question, you can raise your hand in the there's a raise your hand chat kind of deal. Now I don't even know where that is. So maybe just put your name in the chat bar if you want to ask a question of any of these ladies or about the Wild.
Yeah, if you guys just want to either, just write into the chat bar, I've got a question, or if you'd rather just write it into the chat bar what your question is, if you know what the raise hand feature is. I'll be checking out. Like, even if you just want to raise your hand in the webcam, I'm looking at everybody here, so however you'd like to do it. And we should be good to go.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Howard.
Eliza?
Oh, never mind.
Is it, should be unmuted.
Are you looking for, for Howard?
I see Eliza with hand up and Howard.
Okay.
I was trying to unmute Eliza.
Okay.
You should, Eliza, if you haven't gotten unmuted, maybe try it on your own screen. I don't know why. Seems to, should be going.
Well, let's figure that out. I'm going to unmute Howard. Howard, why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to just thank everybody for it, and
Howard.
Elma and Maggie for performing. That was really brave and speaks to probably all of our hearts, and people who love salmon understand. Yeah, I always want to know what's going on with the Pebble Mine, and it's, how it's developing or not, and I want to be part of making it not happen. So, sometimes it's dead and sometimes it's resurging, and I read the news and stuff. I just want to know, I guess, just want to help people that don't know about Bristol Bay. When I point them in the right direction, I just want to point them towards I don't know, websites or factual places where they can learn and help. Like, I want to learn and help. Yeah, that's it, really. You're on mute, though.
Yes, I am. Thanks, Howard. I'll start out and then toss it around the horn here. We've got some amazingly qualified humans to speak to this. There's a bunch of good resources. Just starting out right now today, you can go to savebristolbay.org or salmonstate.org. Both of those are super, comprehensive sites. Once we get going on the tour, which is now shaping up to be a virtual tour, at least at the start, we're going to be funneling everything through avaswild.com. And we'll have links to literally everybody and up-to-date stuff and all the action items you can take. So that's one you might want to bookmark here. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks. But for today, whoever, I think Megan's here and Melanie's here. If you guys want to write your URLs up into the chat bar, and then Howard and anybody else that wants them, just copy paste them and hit them. What I know today is that yesterday, Joel Reynolds, who's the Western director of the NRDC, published an article that found that the Pebble Mine, unlike everybody else in the rest of the planet who's taking a pause during this crisis, is moving with blinding alacrity, and they know that they have this one window to get this done in this generation under the Trump and Dunleavy administrations. And so they are going for broke, quite literally. Joel reported yesterday that Pebble has spent more in lobbying in this last year than any other mining entity in the world, which is unbelievable, considering that they are an assetless company. Northern Dynasty is an assetless company in Vancouver with no other holdings or active mining, that they would spend more lobbying money than Rio Tinto, Anglo, anybody. So they're going for broke. We are hoping to, with partnership with all of the orgs we're working together with, all of the fishermen, commercial and sport, all of our partners together to try to raise a white heat and a lot of noise with this tour that we're going to be kicking off here starting May 2nd. So please do stay connected with our newsletter and with savebristolbay.org and with salmonstate.org. And I'll toss to Melanie and Megan, if you're still here, Megan.
I think Megan said she had to leave.
Oh, did she jump? Okay.
Yeah.
But did you like to add to that, Mel?
I just added a couple of things in the chat bar, a couple of websites that are good places to get on their lists. I was just getting ready to type in United Tribes of Bristol Bay too. They're always really good about sending out updates and keeping people apprised of what's happening. Yeah, I mean, Northern Dynasty can't even pay their bills right now. And yeah, they have to divulge the truth to their board and their shareholders. And it was found that, they're really hurting financially. So that is good news, but hopefully they're not going to try to cash in on the relief money so that they can keep going. Something that's really frustrating that I think people should really be aware of right now is the fact that the permitting process hasn't really slowed down. It was delayed by a week. It's only, like in the midst of the COVID crisis, it's only been delayed by 1 week. And last week when Sullivan and Murkowski, Alaska's congressional delegates, our senators, addressed the United Fishermen of Alaska board, they both said that all of the agencies need to be 100% focused on the COVID crisis. When they were asked if the EIS was going to be delayed. And to me, that was the answer that we needed to hear, that should point to agencies not focusing on moving Pebble permitting forward. And yet the timeline still remains for the release of the EIS, the Environmental Impact Statement. So right now, we're hoping that that people will continue to call their congressional delegates. You know, even if you're not in Alaska, take the time to call, because you never know whose ears will hear it and what they will do with that information. That's why we have to always just remain diligent and keep sounding the alarm.
Thanks, Mel.
Thank you.
Eliza, I'm going to unmute you. Are you still good to go? Actually,
I
wow.
think Eliza actually, now that I'm looking at it closer, has the clapping sign, not the hand raising sign. So that's totally my bad.
Thanks, Lilani. Thanks for being here. Endless pressure applied endlessly. Exactly. Other questions? You can just raise your hand if you're up on the screen. If you have other questions or thoughts at this minute.
I just want to add that I think the Save Bristol Bay campaign, the letter for Trump is still open. If you haven't signed that, I imagine most people in this room have done that, but I think that still have open until the end of this month.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone.
Good point. Just reposted that org website right there. So, you know, we've got another one of these next week, and we are super psyched. And there's a really good story behind all this, but she was here last week, and I'm actually going to reintroduce my friend Susan Lebetkin, who is a scientist, an independent scientist working on this very Bristol Bay issue right now. But she's also a musician and an executive director of an outfit called Terra Nostra, and that's the name of a film that is going to be our featured story night and Streamside chat next week. And so, Susan, do you want to do a little intro on what we have to look forward to?
Yeah. Thanks, Mark. Actually, as of last week, I am no longer the executive director, and the composer and director of the film, Christophe Chagnard, is now executive director, and that is because I couldn't run that at the same time that I'm getting my teeth back into the science. And so right now I am working full-time on shredding the DEIS. And so if you needed to stick a statistician on something, this is something you need to stick a statistician on. Say that 5 times fast. So you'll meet Christophe next week. So, but Terra Nostra, at this point, we're calling it a symphonic short film about climate change, and it's a way of trying to do what all of you artists were doing today, and that's bring facts forward, but do it leading with emotion. And it's the same thing that Mark's film does, where, you know, I'm a scientist and I speak in p-values and regressions and technical terms, and that's great when I'm talking to other scientists, and not so great when I'm talking to humans. And so bring something really human to this. A few years ago, my husband and I commissioned a symphony about climate change. And then my friend Christophe Chagnard wrote it, and we premiered it in 2015. And then we had it professionally recorded. Yes, thank you. And turned it into a film. And so that's what you're going to see next week. And it's half an hour long. And it's, you know, it'll rip you up, and then it helps put you to get back together again, because the whole idea is to get to climate grief. And I think we're all sitting with a lot of grief about a lot of things right now, but then lead you to climate hope and climate action. And I think, you know, the question that Mark always brings up with how do you save what you love, you know, it's Bristol Bay, but it's a lot of other places as well. And so we all need to step up to the plate wherever we are. And so that's what this is supposed to inspire, hopefully next week. So classical music nerd mixed with, you know, science nerd. I'm a dork. There we go.
And we love you for it. Yeah, thank you so much, Susan. Yeah, we're super looking forward to that next week. Chat to follow with the artists who created it. And also on the line, we have Collis Stoll, my friend from back east, who's apparently out of power right now. But Collis, are you still there? Do you want to talk about the event you've got coming up?
Yeah, thanks. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I'm calling from the pitch dark. It's been a crazy day today. We had snow, thunder, we had rain, and it was in the high 50s and sunny yesterday. So this is spring in Maine. But I first of all, I want to bow to everybody who spoke or played or sang before, because I think we all need that. Just a real quick thing. I'm from One Fish Foundation, which is a nonprofit that I started to bring the sustainable seafood message in the classrooms and communities, and I'm affiliated with Slow Fish. I also went up to Bristol Bay last summer, and that really attached itself to me. So, and I've been writing about the Pebble Mine for 5-6 years, something like that. So I've been really engaged in it. Next Friday, we're going to have a webinar. Slowfish, in collaboration with some other organizations, including Slow Food, has been doing a series of webinars, having discussions around fisheries and issues and building community around some of these challenges. We actually had planned an event for March 20th at UNH, University of New Hampshire. We had to postpone that. So instead, we decided to have a collective conversation online. The event that we're having next Friday will feature, gratefully, we're going to be blessed with having Melanie initiate the whole discussion with some music to sort of set the tone. We'll also have Steve Currian, who is featured in The Wild. He'll be talking about some of the challenges and his way of dealing with COVID-19, because the focus of this discussion is going to be COVID-19 resilience and what some fishermen and chefs and others in and around the seafood supply chain are doing to adapt, because it really is about adaptation. So I'd really like to extend an invitation to you all. We'd love to have you join the conversation, because we're going to hear from a variety of different folks, but we're going to have an open dialogue after that. I shared the link with Mark, so hopefully he's able to share that with you all in the chat section. But it's a way of continuing these conversations. So it'll be great to have Melanie and Steve particularly on this conversation about Bristol Bay and sort of the changes in how things are adapting on the fly with the current situation, and still having the Pebbles thing in the background. So anyway, that's my spiel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Collis. Outstanding. Okay, guys, we're gonna put that link in the Wild newsletter, which are going to be, because there'll be a bunch coming down the pike here. It's about that time, and before I turn you guys loose, just want to thank everybody for showing up and being present and giving up your time to connect in this way. I mean, it's just superlatives are, out the window anymore about this time we're going through. I think it's pretty clear we'll all, have life pre and post COVID-19. Clearly, there's a major decision being made right now about the Bristol Bay fishing season, and very cognizant of that. And my heart personally goes out to every single person in the bay and every single fisherman that bases their livelihood around that fishery. And our job here in the coming weeks is going to be to help celebrate Bristol Bay, help celebrate saving what we love, meaning that place together, and really lifting it up into the national consciousness, regardless of what happens with this fishery this coming season, because of this unparalleled time. Thank you so much to Maggie, to Elma, and to Melanie. You guys are heroes to me. I love you all. And my heart is totally broken open with your work tonight. So let's keep it going, you guys. And please stay connected. we'll be shooting out another newsletter here on Monday, and you can always get in touch with me at connect@thewildfilm.com. Thanks again, everybody, and we'll see you again very soon, and in person, hopefully, very soon down the trail. Take good care and have a good night.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for joining, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.